What is your tagline to summarise your vegan adventure?
I feel like I want to give a special mention to the fact that, go vegan. Because if you go vegan, everybody wins. You win, the environment wins, the animals win, our future wins, basically. So there's nothing to lose.
Hello and welcome to Your Tagline here with me, Simon Tomlinson. This is a podcast all about people and their stories, and in every episode I ask the guest to provide their tagline to summarise their story. In this episode I talk to Stephen and Maruša, who are both passionate vegan advocates and are admins for the popular Birmingham Vegans Facebook group, which has over 10,000 members. We talk about why they became vegans in the first place, how they did it, what the benefits have been to their lives, and what their favourite places are to eat vegan food in Birmingham. Before we get into the episode, I'd just like to mention our sponsor, KitKlab, which is a digital marketing company based in Birmingham in the UK. KitKlab have over 15 years experience and specialise in branding, websites, digital marketing, social media and more. So if you want to grow your business online, just head over to kitlab.com, which is KIKLAB.com. If you do like this episode, then please make sure to give us a thumbs up and subscribe so you don't miss out on any future content. Stephen and Maruša, welcome to the podcast. It's good to have you here.
Thank you.
And this is an interesting episode because it's the first time that I've ever had two guests on the show. So I'm looking forward to that. And it's also a topic which I'm really interested in, which is veganism and something that I'm personally passionate about. And I know that you both are as well. So I'm really interested to get your thoughts on your experience with being a vegan. So first of all, Stephen, how long have you been a vegan for, and what were the reasons why you decided to change your diet and cut out meat, eggs and dairy and any animal products?
So I've been vegan for 5 years now, and it's been a pretty smooth ride. The original reasons were quite complex, but the main catalyst was because I was doing a job in pest control. And I one day I just thought, what am I doing? I'm being paid to kill these animals, and it started to break my heart. And I did have some other things going on at the time, but I think that it was really important to recognize that job wasn't healthy for me, and it made me sort of open up to this bigger world of, well, what else is going on? I had already previously seen a couple of videos which opened my eyes to what happens to male baby chicks and behind closed doors at the abattoirs and things like that. And it just made me feel really upset and unwell. And I just said, right, that's it. I'm done. I'm giving it all up, all the meat and all the products. And I just went for it and lived on fruit for 2 weeks because I didn't know what I was doing.
Animal welfare is a really big reason to stop eating animal products, because when you do see what goes on behind closed doors and you see some of the treatment that goes on, it's difficult to continue eating and consuming those kind of products. Maruša, how about yourself? How long have you been vegan for, and what are the reasons why you changed to that way of living?
Well, I'm coming on 2 years being vegan. And my reasons really initially were health related. Because a few years ago, I had immense issues with my gallbladder. I was spending months and months in a hospital waiting for the operation. My body was essentially just destroying itself. And so when you have issues with your gallbladder, they prescribe something called like a low-fat diet. So when you look at that, initially it just looks like they're out to take all the fun out of your life. So, no fatty stuff, no sugars, no fun, essentially. And through that, I kind of have eliminated a lot of dairy products, because that's a lot of fats. Sort of eggs, red meat, all of that had to go. And then eventually I'd had my operation, and I realized that I didn't really want to go back to my old lifestyle, to my old habits. And I think a part of me also realized that that sort of cognitive dissonance had left me, that sort of willful blindness you have towards things. Because I think a lot of us do realize what's happening, but we don't want to admit it, because we know that it kind of makes us accomplices as well in all of these things, like you mentioned, baby chicks, calves being taken from their mothers, on and on. And so, and that really has been my journey, and it's been a good one so far.
Well, it's interesting how you've both got slightly different reasons. Because I know, well, Stephen, you said it was more about animal welfare, and for you, Maruša, then more about your own personal health. But I'm sure that there's other reasons in there as well, because you mentioned about animal welfare. So when you changed your diet to cut out animal products, was it a difficult thing to do?
Initially, yes. Initially, it was quite hard because really eating meat was all that I've known through my life, and I was always encouraged to, consume a lot of animal products to, keep healthy and keep strong and things like that, which in the end turned out to actually be the things that were harming me. So at the beginning, I felt really lost, and like Stephen, surviving 2 weeks on fruit. I was kind of thinking, I don't know, like I wouldn't eat any vegetables. I didn't like anything that wasn't sort of potatoes. My mom still always says, I can't believe what you're doing now, because I couldn't get anything that's green into you. But then I think the fact that it did have to be because of my health, because I was in so much pain and distress at the time, that was sort of something that kept me going. Whereas if it was something that didn't feel as pressing on me personally, I might have given up.
So after you found it quite challenging to begin with, is it easier now?
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely. I think being as well with some, having a partner that's vegan, that's just like winning a lottery, really.
Yeah, I imagine that must make it a lot easier, because to make any kind of change in your life, if you've got someone that you're going through that journey with, then it does make it easier. So, Stephen, for you, did you find it difficult to stop eating animal products?
I definitely did at first.
Okay.
It took a couple of years for me to stop thinking about chicken wings and bacon sandwiches and things like that. You walk past McDonald's, and even though I was never really a fan of McDonald's, I ate a lot at some point, but there's something in the smell that triggers something in your brain.
Happy hormone.
Yeah, and you're like, and I know even if I still was eating meat and dairy, I'd have gone in there and eaten it, and I wouldn't have been satisfied, but there's just something in the smell. But I think I had a lot of support, and at first my mum was a bit confused by it. But I like to think of, when you're eating your dinner when you're a child, and your parents are like, you can't have your pudding until you've eaten your vegetables. And now I'm eating all my vegetables. And they're like, why are you eating all these vegetables? Like there's this complete swap around there in like ideals, but a lot of it is to do with culture. And I find that with myself, that eating meat, and especially like junk food and things like that, and just taking total disregard for what I'm picking up and putting in my body, you have to start this whole new learning process. It's like, well, fruit was safe. I knew it was safe. And I probably did have a couple of things along the way, like a couple of packets of crisps and things like that. But I remember the first time that I'd made a mistake, and I'd bought these vegetarian burgers that had mozzarella cheese in them. And I didn't realize until my mum had pointed it out and said, I was like, and I felt terrible at first. And then these days, there are occasions, I mean, it was only last week, wasn't it? I bought a well-known noodle snack that you get in a pot. And
I wonder what that is.
I was always led to, and I think they were this certain flavour I believed were vegan, and accidentally, but Maruša said to me, you know there's milk in that, don't you? And I'd already just eaten it. Like, I said, oh no, and I was like, oh, I feel a bit silly, but you do hit those speed bumps, and you just have to sort of keep going,
Yeah, and it is difficult because I know from my experience as well, like when you start to become more conscious about what food you're eating and you actually look at the ingredients on the back of a packet, milk and eggs are in like so many foods that you wouldn't expect. It's like
ridiculous.
It turns out there's powder milk on broccoli. It's just
yeah, like there must be this powdered milk just going around everywhere, and everyone's just like, we must put this on our product. Don't need to, but we must.
So, Stephen, I know the main reason initially for you stopping eating animal products was for animal welfare reasons. But have you noticed any impact on your health in a positive way since you've made that change?
Lots, everywhere. I have to say though, like part of the reason why I stopped eating animal products and being a part of animal products is a slightly selfish one, is because I felt bad. In the very beginnings, I felt bad and I wanted to feel better. And through education and looking at certain types of activism, I have come around to, fully acknowledging the stresses of the animal welfare. Sorry, what was the question?
What are the positive effects you've noticed on your health?
The positive effects, yeah. So at first, it was very physical. So I stopped having IBS, and my skin cleared up. I used to have terrible rashes on my skin, which turned out to be dairy. I have a mild allergy to it, like most people. A lot of people don't realise they're allergic to cow's milk. So I went from there and I started to feel physically better. And then I started to notice that I had a sharpness of mind. My brain was functioning on a higher form, and my thoughts were a bit quicker. I was remembering a little bit more, and that combination of the mental and the physical was really quite uplifting, and through that I started to get a better spiritual well-being as well. I started to feel less guilty about my lifestyle and started to explore more creative means of expressing myself. And I think it does come as a whole package. I think even if you recognise yourself as just someone who is plant-based, I think you can probably agree with some of the things that I'm saying there, is that it doesn't just come as one thing. There's other aspects to it. Yeah,
well, I mean, it's great how it's had such a positive impact on your physical health and your emotional and spiritual health as well. So, Maruša, for you, I know that you stopped consuming animal products because of medical reasons. Did it have that positive effect on your health, and were there other positive effects that you didn't expect to get?
Yes, I mean, in large, I have to resonate what Stephen just said. I think the thing about going vegan initially, it might not look like you're feeling better. A lot of people that I've spoken to that have gone vegan, there's this 2-week period in the beginning where your skin just goes haywire. And you get these little like zits everywhere. It's essentially, your body kind of clearing itself of toxins, of everything. After that, for me, things started looking a lot better. And then I know a lot of people at the beginning also report gas which is just also your gut kind of getting used to the fact that, you're changing your diet. It's a completely normal process. Yeah. So there's all these differences that a lot of us will experience. And then for me personally, I feel like I've had a lot more energy in general since going vegan, because my diet has become a lot sort of lighter. I still eat a lot, like constantly. Even just before coming here, we stopped for food and everything, but it's the quality of the things that you consume that make all the difference. And I feel like physically I'm performing on a higher level as well. So
I think mental health as well, I want to add that it's not going to like clear up your depression, but it's gonna help put you in a better position to rise up and become a better person on an emotional level. And anxiety and depression and mental health is never going to go away purely through veganism or through plant-based diets, but it's going to help. It's going to put you in a position where you can start repairing, internally through those structures. You got to give yourself a fighting chance.
Yeah, and the food that we put into our body is our fuel, and the better the fuel is that we put in, the more energy that we have, and generally the more energy that we have, that can make a massive difference to our mental health. So yeah, I can see how that would definitely play its part. So we've used a few terms already while we've been talking. We've used the word vegan, we've used the word plant-based. There's also vegetarians. I don't know, there's probably other words as well to describe this kind of diet. Maruša, do you refer to yourself as a vegan or something else? And what do you think about that word vegan? Because I know that it can be perceived as quite an antagonistic word. What do you think?
I think, like you said, an antagonistic word. It used to be like that anyway. Someone mentions someone that's vegan, and you're immediately thinking that's the most annoying person at a party. The famous joke of, how do you know that someone's vegan? They will tell you. So I think that might be the reason why at the beginning I was a bit hesitant to go into the whole vegan business, because you're thinking, I don't want to be that person. I don't want to enter a room and, we get into a discussion and then I have to go through all of that. But the truth of the things is, you might as well stand up for it, because that's what you are, and it's not a bad thing. And I think overall, so, the term vegan refers to someone that doesn't consume or use animal products in any way. So even within the community, there's still a bit of, I don't want to say fighting, but heated discussion about, who gets to call themselves a vegan, who is, merely a plant-based person exploring. But I think for myself, so far into the journey, being someone that has consciously made the decision to not consume any animal products and avoid buying them, wherever I can, I would, call myself a vegan with clear conscience. Yeah.
And does that include leather products as well, and any other clothing that might come from animals?
Yes, it does. The thing is as well, when people sort of first go into the whole vegan journey, a lot of them in the Facebook group that we manage as well will ask questions like, I've got a leather bag, what do I do with it? And I think the prevalent advice is, if you have something that happens to be of, animal, that is from an animal source, just use it up. It's, there's no point throwing it away. The, quote unquote damage has been done. But, there's also the whole environmental aspect of things. And it does no one any good to just start massively throwing things away that we've already purchased in a time where we weren't really paying attention.
Yeah, and I did have a similar dilemma when I decided to go to a plant-based diet. I did have a leather jacket and some like leather bags and stuff like that, and I decided that I did keep it because I didn't want to waste it, and it would almost be doing that animal or those animals a disservice by throwing it away. But certainly buying other new animal related products is something that I try and avoid as much as I can. So Stephen, the same question for you about, do you refer to yourself as a vegan, or do you prefer one of the other terms?
No, I refer myself to as a vegan, but there is a lot of connotations that come with that word, and stereotypes and stigmas, and it's a difficult thing to nail down apart from it in its purest form, about not using and consuming any animal products and maintaining animal welfare and things like that. And there are a few people who have slightly different views of it, more or less all in the same vein. But I think the essence of it is at its basic form, not using and not purchasing any animal products. The thing is, like with the leather jacket, it's an interesting one, because I had a discussion with someone a couple of years ago who was saying that actually leather is far better than pleather, because leather is a natural material. It will break down eventually. It's not toxic, not too toxic for the planet. Whereas pleather and plastic and things like that actually we know plastics are terrible for the world, and I in a way I agreed with what he was saying, and I do now try and avoid some of the plastic leathers. I did have a plastic leather jacket. I had two actually, but since they've sort of worn out, I haven't bothered touching those. But there are some really good advances in, like, I think they're using like mushrooms and pineapple leaves and things like that. But I will always consider myself a vegan, even if I've accidentally had something that's had milk in it, because it,
Well, yeah. I mean, accidents happen. You can't control that. You can do your best, and
that's it.
Mistakes will happen from time to time. So you've already mentioned the Facebook group, and I know that. Stephen, you're the admin for it, and Maruša, you're one of the moderators in the group as well. So, Stephen, first of all, can you just tell us what the Facebook group is, and what sort of conversations happen within that group?
So the group is a Birmingham-based group, and it is Birmingham, UK, not Birmingham, Alabama. We do actually get quite a lot of people from that area of the world coming in. We have to just say, look, just so you know, this is the UK. And they're all like, oh. So we have a lot of support there. So it's open for people who want to know more about the local area, Birmingham and surrounding area, in terms of where they can go to get certain products, where they can go for meals out, look for advice from fellow vegans. We tend to have a few discussions and stuff, so people will bring things into the group, inform people, and it can range really. I think the majority of the stuff that comes up in the group is, where can I go to have a meal with people who are not vegan, where I'm vegan, and I want to, I want us all to have a nice meal. That comes up quite a lot. You get a lot of people who are passing through, and they also want to know where they can go while they're there. You get a lot of people who they want to share a meme, or they want to do like a little poll. We used to do some stuff actually where it was like, what's your favorite vegetable? And do a little poll on it, just for a bit of fun, and they were quite popular.
Starts a conversation anyway,
It does.
What came out as the best vegetable?
I think it was broccoli, wasn't it?
Broccoli by a landslide.
It was a big winner, broccoli.
It is a good vegetable.
I think it's the king, the king and the queen of all the vegetables now. Yeah, I think that one of the things that we're missing out on currently is social meetups.
Okay.
So it's been difficult because of lockdown and COVID and things like that, and we are emerging through the other side now, and we are aware that people will want to start doing some groups. Some people have mentioned picnics, and someone was mentioning the other day about a vegan singles night, and I support all of that, but I think some people are still a little bit cautious, and I want to make sure that everyone is safe, and because it's care for the community, isn't it? So hopefully we can start doing some of those socials again soon.
Yeah, that would be great. And I'll definitely be interested in coming to the vegan singles night if you have one of those. Because, I am single at the moment, and I would definitely like to find someone else who is vegan, because that will help to keep me motivated. But also I think I would find it hard being in a relationship with someone who does eat meat, because then that's kind of a bit of an internal conflict. So Maruša, what's your involvement with the group, and what's your experience of participating within the Facebook group?
Well, I've been a moderator for about a year now, I think. About a year ago, they set up a post, Stephen and the other admins, looking for moderators, so anyone could apply. There was a little questionnaire, and me and a couple others have been a part of the team ever since, and it's been really good. For me personally, what I love doing most is offering support to kind of baby vegans, so new people to the scene, because I know it can be a really scary, confusing place to be. I think maybe even more because people make such a huge deal about it. And suddenly you find yourself in this world and you're thinking, oh my God, is this bread vegan? There's all these things that you have not thought about before. So that's my speciality, I would say, is just offering support to people. And I just really like seeing what other people have been up to as well. I think the whole vegan plant-based scene in Birmingham has been just fantastic. It's just new places are popping up. And at the end of the day, it's not only about the veganism, it's about sort of sustainability as well, zero waste events, things like that. And I think that's really something to keep an eye on.
And I think it's a great group. I've personally been a member of the group, I think for a couple of years. And yeah, I go onto the group every so often, or it pops up in my feed. And it's nice seeing people positively talking about veganism, because then it helps to inspire me to keep on this journey myself. And yeah, it's a great tool for finding out like places to eat or different dishes to have. I think I asked a question once about the best of vegan curries in Birmingham, and I got a recommendation for some place. I can't remember where it was, but I did go there, and it was very nice. So it's good to have those resources to find those things. I'm now interested to find out about people who inspire you in the world of veganism. Are there any well-known people who have really inspired you? So we'll start with Maruša.
Yeah, well, a lot of people, actually, I have to say, because I feel like before I never heard about, vegan athletes or whatever. And now suddenly, I think especially with the rise of sort of the term plant-based, we're hearing about all these amazing people bursting onto the scene, and they're doing it with the power of plants, and everybody's really amazed at them. But for me personally, the person that I've really admired has been Ed Winters, or better known as Earthling Ed, who is he's an incredible person. He's, he's not even 30 years old, and he's already got like an incredibly successful YouTube channel meant to educate, sort of spread awareness. And he does it in such a sort of calm manner. You want to listen to him. He and his team have also set up an organization called Surge, which is set to promote equality between all non-human animals. And they're also opening a first vegan fish and chip shops.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They've got
shop.
their sanctuary as well, and some literature and.
Oh yeah, he's coming up with a book. Can pre-order now, I think.
We got a signed copy.
Nice.
Yeah. So now the same question for you, Stephen. Are there any people who really inspire you?
Oh yes, there is lots. We were discussing this because there's such a long list. Got some special mentions like Patrick Baboumian. He's a brilliant advocate for veganism. He's a strong man. He's German. He's huge, isn't he? And he's so inspirational. And I've always been a fan of Russell Brand. Yeah. Before any of his sort of vegan and spiritual movements. So he's always sort of around. He's always looking into doing stuff. I know he does a lot of his own thing. He's got his own podcast, but just to know that someone is thriving on their vegan lifestyle and continuing to do all the other things in their life quite happily and successfully, that's nice to see. I suppose more in specifics, there's people like Dale Vince. So he's a British entrepreneur. He's the director of Ecotricity, the vegan power company. He's also the owner and director of Forest Green Rovers. Yeah. So I think they're close to top of League Two at the moment. They're doing actually quite well, and I like to follow them. And their whole club is based around sustainability. And I know that all the players and all the staff aren't necessarily all vegan, but the club itself is founded on veganism, and that's really nice to know. And then there's also a lady that's called Juliet Gallatley. Okay. So she's the founder and director of Viva with an exclamation mark. So they're a vegan charity, and they like to get involved with events, and they have a lot of initiatives, and they've got their own media coverage and things like that, and they do a lot of great stuff. And they've been going, I think, since the 90s, so they've been around for a long, long time. So they're all really interesting people worth looking into.
And I think it's great that there are people out there who have got a big following and have become famous and become celebrities. And I'm not really into celebrity culture, but it's nice when you see these kinds of people who are using their influence to positively shape the world around them. And when people see people that they look up to changing to a plant-based diet, then that will have a big impact on what other people do as well. And yeah, I do really like Forest Green Rovers. I think what they're doing is fantastic, because it's very different to what a lot of football is about, which is just seems to be about money. And it's nice seeing a sporting organisation looking at it from a different point of view. Stephen, have you ever been involved in any vegan activism activities, like protests or demonstrations or anything like that?
So things like the protests and demos, I've seen, I've been around them. I wouldn't necessarily consider myself part of them. I've been along, I've taken pictures, I've supported what they're doing. But for me, it's not my style. Okay. And that's okay, Activism comes in many different forms. And before we came in, I says to Maruša, I says, just being vegan is activism in itself. And we had like a little giggle between ourselves. Okay. But really, I mean, if you think about it, it is, because you're actively going out of your way to maintain a lifestyle that is benefiting yourself, the animals, the planet, your environment, So just that on its baseline is activism, in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. And the Facebook group is another example of that. And this podcast is another example of that. It doesn't have to be shouting with megaphones, marching down the street. It's anything to positively influence people. Maruša, have you ever been involved in any activism activities?
So I think I've not been on any protests. I'll just say that now, because to be honest, I've just not really come across them. And I think my active vegan years have been sort of based during the lockdown, and sort of everything has really been dead. Thinking back, because when we were discussing, the activism and things, and I thought, I don't think I've been a part of anything. And I felt bad momentarily. But then when you think about it, I mean, there wasn't really any chances yet. But, without sounding too corny, the being vegan in itself and making active choices every day and sort of leading by example is really, I think, what has ultimately been most effective for me. And I can see even people around us, co-workers, friends, seeing us enjoy this lifestyle, thrive on it. And that's what pulls them in. Because, if we go back to sort of a stereotypical image of a vegan, you have this, skinny, not well-fed person that can't really do very much. But, we've known a lot of people that have been, really growing their own strength through being vegan, physical and mental, really psychological. So
I think it just can be quite simple. If someone's interested, a work colleague perhaps, or a friend, and they ask a question. I have this idea of the 10-point system. So in your head, you don't realize there's a counter, but every time you see something, say, positive or powerful in regards to, in this case, veganism, it can work for most things, that you'll add like a point towards, oh, yeah, okay, like, yeah, it makes sense, or, oh, that burger was quite nice, or, oh, he's a vegan, but actually he's quite a nice guy. And though you get like a point off these things, and then by the time you hit like 10 points, you kind of think, actually, this might be quite good, But if you have these bad experiences, maybe you meet a vegan who's not a nice person, or you've heard bad stories, or you have tried some food that was pretty bad, because it's not all fantastic. And maybe you get those minus points then, and it knocks you down. So you can end up in this sort of, I gained a few points or I lost a few points. But so I think people who are on like 0 points, they're like, nah, not touching it. Get it away from me.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of logic in what you've said, and actually I think advertisers and marketers do go by that principle as well, that normally you need to get your product or your advert in front of people so they see it a number of times before they decide whether they want to buy it or not. So I think, it's based on a lot of logic. I want to talk about vegan food now. We'll start with Maruša. What are your favourite vegan dishes to make?
there's a lot of them. Okay. I cook a lot. I think even in our household, I am the leading force.
Okay.
And I think my favorite dishes are... it's when you make something and people really enjoy it and they didn't know it was vegan. Yeah. Purely because I think, vegan food gets so much bad rep. And then when you can give someone something, like, say I make this banana bread, and I gave it to a couple of coworkers, and they've eaten it, and then they thought, they came back, they asked me, was this vegan? And I said, yeah, it was. I said, you wouldn't think, it was really nice. I thought, yeah, there you go. And that, and that's another plus point in that system. Yeah. But just on day-to-day basis for us, I really love anything from the Bosch cookbooks, or Matt Pritchard's. I forgot what it's called, but I think
Dirty Vegan, isn't it?
Dirty Vegan, yeah.
Yeah.
Or there's this fantastic book about one pot wonders, I think.
Okay.
It's just basically just throw everything in and something delicious comes out. But I've also been trying my hand at the infamous seitan.
What's that?
It is the vegan meat.
Okay.
So it is made from vital wheat gluten, which is just basically a byproduct of making flour. So essentially what it is, there's a couple of different methods. The one that I've been using that's actually quite easy is if you want to make something like mock lunch meat. So you're making like an imitation roast beef or turkey breast, things like that. You can use it for sandwiches. It's a fantastic thing.
Okay.
Very convincing. So,
It is.
and I felt very powerful when I achieved that.
Nice. And for you, Stephen, are there any particular vegan dishes that you like to cook or just to eat?
I'm a simple man.
Okay.
So I like simple things. I love beans on toast, you know.
Yeah.
He does love beans on toast.
But I if I'm going out of my way, you know, I do enjoy the popular foods: pizza,
Okay.
burger and chips. I like I like a lot of the Italian foods, so lasagna, creamy pasta, things like that. Those are nice. But I also really enjoy Mexican food. So if we might have some fajitas one night, you know, we haven't. I don't think we've made a chili con carne, but maybe that's next
'Cause
on
I
the
don't
list.
like it.
Actually,
Well, I think chili con carne, or it would be chili
Sin carne.
sin carne, because it's chili. Con is with in Spanish, and sin is without, and then carne is meat.
I'd have just called it chili can't carne.
Hey.
But I'm a simple
Yeah.
man, like I say.
That is one of my favourite dishes to make, and I think if you were to have a meat version and a vegan version, it would be very difficult to really tell the difference because most of the flavour comes from all of the spices and the garlic and the chili, and you just put loads of different vegetables in it and beans in it, and yeah, it's delicious, and you can make a big pot of it. Put it in the fridge, and then it keeps you going for ages. So that is one of my regular and one of my favourites. Paella or paella is also a good one, and curries I think are really good as well.
You make a mean jambalaya, don't you?
Oh, yeah. Made it last week. Ate it for 6 days.
Nice.
Just because it's a big pot dish, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think one of the advantages of not having meat in it is that they do keep for longer in the
Yeah.
fridge because the meat goes off quicker than vegetables would. So that's another bonus. We live in Birmingham, and I know that you said you went out for some food on your way here. Are there any particular food, either takeaway places or restaurants or cafes or coffee shops that you like to go to? Let's start, Stephen.
Gosh, there's so many. I'd put it into
Let's
two.
take turns.
You would take turns.
Okay.
But I would put it into two categories. So I'd put it in. So there's the vegan places or vegetarian and vegan places, and most of them are sort of independent. And then you've got sort of like the main chains and the franchise. So things like Pizza Express. We went there last week and they've got this whole new vegan menu, and we had some stuff off that. It was really nice. You know, I know a lot of the sort of junk food places are bringing out their own burgers and things like that. And we like to try them, but we don't eat them a lot though, do we? So in terms of recommendations, especially because we are Birmingham based, there are some places that just have to be mentioned. So I'll mention Cafe Soya first because that's where we went to on the way. They have a really good vegetarian and vegan section that's definitely worth a look. But you've got Baja, and Baja is very special to us because we actually got engaged.
Oh,
I asked her to marry me at Baja, so
nice.
that's always going to have a little special place. But that's really quite fancy gourmet food at times, isn't it?
Okay.
Like, so
Is
that's
that in the mailbox?
Not
They've just
anymore.
moved,
They are at
haven't
the
they?
Rainbow Pub now.
Oh, right, okay.
yeah. So they've moved around a little bit. I think they were at the mailbox, weren't they?
They were
were
initially.
Churchill's originally. So
And then they went to the custard factory.
yeah, that's
and
right.
then Pineapple Club, I think it was.
Yeah, they've
And
been
now at the
dotted
Rainbow Pub.
around, but I think they're pretty settled now. You go. I know there's one that you want to mention.
Earth's Kitchen, which is a Caribbean little type of reminiscent of sort of family-owned little tiny
Okay.
restaurant, which is currently being renovated, but I'm sure it'll be up and running soon.
Whereabouts is that?
It's in Digbeth.
Yeah.
It's up towards the custard factory. It's just before you get to the custard factory if you're going from Birmingham town centre. So they've been around for quite a while now. Alex, who runs the place, I met her back in my very early vegan days, and she was in the little vegan stalls that popped up around some of the markets and places like that, and we just hit it off straight away. And her food is just fantastic. Like her seitan's out of this world.
Okay.
It's one of the places I always recommend to people because it's not talked about very often. I know a lot of people know about it, but it's not talked about compared to some other places. So I Go Vegan is a huge place right now in Birmingham. We used to have a bit of a mixed view of them in the early days, but I think because they were just starting out, they hadn't quite got to where they needed to be in terms of quality of the product. But now, I mean, their range is
now,
much
isn't
better, and I mean, the food that they provide now is really good, and people will travel quite far to come and get something from there. And they've only got a tiny little shop in, I think, is it Small Heath, Shard End, that sort of direction. They're going to be big news if they keep going. I genuinely believe that. Any more?
Oh, you've taken all the good ones.
I took all the good. No, I haven't. There's loads.
I mean, there's 3 threes if you've got a sweet tooth.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're really cool.
There's the Vegan Kitchen. There's
Land has opened up.
Land
as
is
well.
opened up if you're into fancy dining. I think they also offer a chef's table, so you can see how everything is prepared.
They do, yeah.
Is that the one in the Great Western Arcade?
Yes.
think
There's
so,
two
yeah.
in the
the
Great.
Vegan Kitchen and Land.
Yeah.
They're pretty much next door to each other.
And what's the one which is in Digbeth?
Warehouse Cafe.
The Warehouse Cafe.
Yeah, they've been around.
Yeah.
They're probably one of the originals. Actually, they've been around a long time, and they do some really, really great food. Unfortunately, we've not gone as a couple, but I have been in the past, and they've always provided a really good service. And again, they do like vegetarian and vegan, so there's a little bit of a mix. But they've been around for a while. And there's a few others, but unfortunately, not all of them have survived, which is a bit of a shame. And I do implore people to go to these places, if you can. I understand the big chains they've all got vegan options now. You can go to pretty much any pub, restaurant, and they'll have a vegan menu or vegan option. But especially the independent and the privately owned places, and they've only got one store here in Birmingham, and they're the heart and soul of the community and as Birmingham as a whole as well, because you don't need to be vegan or plant-based to go and enjoy these places. The food's for everyone,
Yeah, absolutely. And it is great that we do have so many options in Birmingham. And it's also good to see that the big brands are being more accommodating for just providing vegan options. So I've just got one more question now for you, which is for you both, which is, what is your tagline to summarise your vegan adventure?
I feel like I want to give a special mention to the fact that, go vegan. Because if you go vegan, everybody wins. You win, the environment wins, the animals win, our future wins, basically. So there's nothing to lose.
I do really agree with what you said, that everyone wins when you go vegan. I always think of those 3 main reasons. It's personal health, it's the environment, and it's also animal welfare, which is really compelling. So thank you both for coming on. It's been a really, really good episode. I've really enjoyed talking to you both and listening to your stories.
Excellent.
Thanks for watching, and I really hope that you enjoyed it. We'll see you with another episode next week, and to make sure you don't miss out on all future content, just make sure you subscribe to the channel.